either put online or outsource. And that has a lot to do with innovation and has a lot to do with information technology. So this is the model we'll be talking about. So this is the model about, it's called the virtual organization model by Van Katelen and Henderson. And I like this model not only because I think it nicely shows the effect of innovation and information technology on what an organization looks like, but I also think it's a very good theory. You know, if you develop a very good theory, you develop it not for now, but you develop it to be used basically forever. And what I think interesting is that this theory was developed in, yes, of course, else I wouldn't be discussing it. Is that this theory is still, I think, very relevant. So when they came up with the theory, it was 1998, you know, we just started using the World Wide Web. And many of the things they proposed about virtualization were not really possible yet then, but they thought, well, it probably will be possible in the future, so they incorporated it in a model. Still a bit vague, but I'll explain later on what everything means. So I think it's a very good theory because it's still, I think, just as applicable now as it was like 20 years ago. And I think it's a nice theory because they, I think, very clearly define what virtualization means and tie it to IT and innovation. Okay, how does this work? Well, it works as follows. So first of all, they say, well, virtualization consists of 3 stages. What you see on the x-axis, so the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. They say when an organization virtualizes, they start with doing that within a certain task unit, within a certain department. So for example, outsourcing only your information technology or outsourcing human resources, that would be virtualization of a part of your organization within or for one department, stage 1. Stage 2 is the organization. Here, the entire organization is affected by virtualization. So it's organization-wide. Stage 3 is inter-organizational, which means that you know, it basically means that actually the boundaries between the organization and the outside of the organization blur. So there is increased cooperation between organization and its stakeholders. Think what we discussed in Electron, where I also discussed crowdsourcing, where you basically ask people from outside of your organization to help you, your organization. That's stage 3 virtualization. So 3 stages and 3 different types of virtualization. They say, well, first of all, you have virtualization to or with the customer. So that's customer interaction, virtual encounter. Second of all, you can have virtualization of parts of your organization. They call it asset configuration. But it basically means look at specific parts of your organization, specific departments, specific functions, and are we able to virtualize and to outsource those? So that's asset configuration. The third is that you can virtualize how people deal with knowledge in an organization. So how the R&D department functions, how people share knowledge in the organization, how people communicate within the organization. And you can also virtualize that. So you can imagine that if an organization is not virtualized at all, most of the communication and most of the people working on innovations do that within one certain department. And you can imagine as you virtualize, that you involve more and more people from outside of the department and even outside of the organization into the innovation and research and development process. So that's knowledge leverage. And in total, that gives you 9 different aspects of virtualization, which we will discuss next. But most important, most important to remember is the 3 stages of virtualization and the 3 types of virtualization. It gives you 9 different options. So we start out with customer interaction and discuss that across the 3 stages of virtualization. So for Caterman Henderson say the first stage of virtualization of customer interaction means simply remote experience of products and service. And this is something that is now completely normal, but in 1998 was pretty new. So it basically means having a website where people can buy your stuff. So that's a remote experience of products and services. But they also say within each stage and within each type, you can have like simple virtualization and more advanced virtualization. So a remote experience of products and services basically means online website for your customers. But there's of course more you can do with that. Because a static website would be like the first phase within that stage, but you can do more than that. So on screen here is an example for a project we did together with Philips Lighting, in which we developed and tested an app so that people could experience a television, in this case Philips Ambilight television, in different settings. So what we did, so we compared 3 different conditions. So one condition was people just saw a simple representation, a static representation of the television, like you mostly see when you're in the web shop now. The second condition was a bit more real. Is what you see on the top left, so that you could actually rotate the television and look at it from all sides. And the third stage, which was most virtualized, was having a 3D environment with a television on a wall, and giving the customer the ability to experience Ambilight. So they could, what you could see here is they could change the lighting. You could make it a day, a night, evening. So you could change the colors of the Ambilight, so you could see how it looked in different lighting conditions. And you could also, of course, walk around in the virtual room. So we did this to test, okay, of course, would this make a difference in the extent to which people would be willing to buy a television like that? And it did. So it really worked. But you still don't see this that often in online shops, of course, because the technology is still a bit too, I think, too varied to do this, and a bit too expensive to create. But this is also an example of the first stage of virtualization. It's the remote experiencing of products and services, which is stage 1 of virtualization. So you can see that within those stages you can become more and more complicated. This is another example of remote experiencing. This is me in a dress. And this is actually quite interesting, I think, because this is an old app, an old application by H&M US.
This is Darshan Kumar, the CEO of Atlantic Media House that offers reliable source of news, information, and articles. Today, we are presenting virtual summit on crafting transformative information presented by Planetic Media House. It is an honor to have an valuable guest here with us today. I'm so grateful to our partners and supporters, including the delegates, sponsors, exhibitors who have helped making this summit. Planetic Media House presents a virtual summit on the unique base, 5 sectors such as
A very good morning to all of you. It is a great pleasure to be part of this virtual conference, and it is also an opportunity for me to speak about startups and my journey as a startup.
and they take care of all the handling, financial handling. So it's pretty simple. You basically do everything you. Yeah, it's also like hiring a marketing company. So basically you do everything you do in your organization, but you just say, okay, one aspect of the organization we outsource. So we do everything except for the financial handling of stuff, we outsource that. But we do everything within our organization except for the marketing, we outsource that. And that doesn't really affect the rest of your organization that much. Until you start outsourcing things that are more central to your organization. For example, when you think about, okay, can we tie in, sorry, this is also an example of the previous part. So this is also handling the payments by another company, by PayPal. So when you start outsourcing like core aspects of your organization, then that's the second stage of virtualization. I don't have an example on slides for that. So that's process interdependence. So say you outsource your main production. So think clothing companies. So they don't actually make their own clothes. So they outsource that to other companies. Think Apple. Apple doesn't make their own computers. They outsource that to Chinese, what's it called? Chinese company, something with an F. Well, so they outsource that. So that has more consequences for virtualization.